Welcome back to Christo's Cafe. We've got another deck guide for you, but before we get into it, I want to do a little intro. I wanted to thank Baby Yozis for this wonderful idea. Since we're here, we're already chatting, why not use this lovely menu right here to walk you through exactly what you're going to see in this video. So you may ask, what's on the menu today in Christo's Cafe? Let me tell you. First off, I'm going to break down why I selected Blaze of Glory and why I didn't want to use the alternate Ursine Warriors deck that you're seeing out there, a little bit more common in the meta. We're also going to show you two games. So the first game is against NG Lockdown. The second game is going to be a mirror matchup, but not exactly the same deck. The archetype of that deck was a little bit more based off of Tailbot's list, so we'll go through that once we get to that game, and we'll wrap it all up at the end with a little conclusion. All of your timestamps will be in the description below, so if you don't want to hear me blab and want to skip forward, just hit the buttons below. But let's take a dive into this deck. All right, so the reason why I went Blaze of Glory, Ursine Warriors, like I was saying, is very popular on ladder right now. You see it quite a bit. It's lacking a bit of control in my mind for what I have been seeing in the meta personally. Now, this is not to say that this deck is better than the Ursine Warrior deck you're seeing out there. Not the case whatsoever. Just plays differently. And based on your meta, you may want to adjust accordingly. I was dealing with a lot of Kelly, and Kelly's quite the bad matchup for Ursine because they don't have that tall punish that you hope to see. Some of them have included Grimace to Purify, Jenge to Lock, but with Carapace putting Veil, getting through the Defender is only half the battle. Once you get through the Defender, you're going to run into a scenario where you can't answer both Ciri as well as Kelly. So I put this together because with Leader, we can do 10 damage with Greatsword, and then you can come back with Hjalmar. So I played games last night on stream where I killed the Defender, killed Ciri in one turn, and pretty much ended their chances of beating me, and that felt really, really good. So we went on a nice win streak. I decided to put this together. Unfortunately, I couldn't manage to match up on ladder against any Kelly decks to kind of show you how to do it, but if I get a chance and queue into a couple, hopefully I'll put it together and release that video as well. You can see me live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheOneChristo. But let me talk a little bit more about the deck before we jump into a couple games. And now Blaze, the advantage is that tall removal, right? So you're going to get access to a greatsword through the Leader ability, and then you're going to use Hjalmar to do it a second time. The other kind of backup option is the Bear Witcher. We only include one. We have one Witcher, one greatsword. It was just a provision thing. But there's other options in here that you can tweak and work through. Based on the games, I'll also offer a couple suggestions because I saw that some things worked okay and some things not so much. Obviously, we're going to have Crystal Skull in here. You're either going to be leading off with a Brockvar Hunter or you're going to be leading off with a Longship. Both those things take advantage of being veiled with the amount of NG currently in the meta. So you've got Blood Eagle as your tutor. You've got Hemdall, you've got Harold, you've got Morkvarg. I mean, these three are pretty standard in most decks. Hemdall kind of is what you can swing in when you're not running Ceres. So this deck is a little bit less point slammy, but Hemdall definitely helps in that case. Harold is a no-brainer in every Devotion SK Warrior. Morkvarg, we've got some greedy decks out there. I've run into Assimilate, I've run into Nature's Gift and all that kind of stuff that are going a bit taller. The Viper Witcher mentors are everywhere, so Morkvarg answers them as well. Turkey's a nice tool. I've been seeing a lot of Swarm decks pop out. So when you see the Arrakis Swarm, Turkey answers like a Goliath really nicely. You can even answer an Eager and stuff like that. So him hitting Goliath actually pulls out your Greatsword if it's in the deck. So that ends up playing for like a 25-point swing. Huge, but definitely a nice tool I like having in here. If you don't want to play with Turkey, you can always throw in a Totem instead. Again, if you're lacking that point slam a little bit, want a few more points, Totem works nicely here. Hjalmar again is your secondary tall removal after you use Leader. Something else you can do is if you play either the Greatsword or the Bear Witcher throughout the first two rounds, you have access to using Hjalmar without using your Leader first. So you can preserve Leader, play Hjalmar instead because it's a bit more tempo, and feel pretty good about the scenario. You've got Vabjorn for additional tutoring, so obviously Raiding Fleet, War of Clans, Blood Eagle is your main target. Jenge is in here for a lock. The thing that's missing is Grimace, so without something to purify Defender, it can get a little wonky to get through it. You've got the Tall Punish to remove the defender, so that's your kind of plan A. Plan B, and what I saw a lot playing against Kelly last night, is actually if you go and Turgv their defender, they'll be pretty easy to remove after, and a lot of times they end up purifying it, not realizing that the defender is also purified, and it lets you get behind it. So Turgv is another tool that gets you through it. We've got War of Clans. We've got 2 targets in the deck, 3 technically. You've got the Brock for Hunter, but the Ancrate Warrior is a nice removal target. The Ancrate Marauder has been very helpful again against those monster swarm decks, so that answers that pretty nicely. You've got your Greatsword. You've got a Stunning Blow in here. Again, we had the provisions for it, so I put it in. Maybe there's an option here to get another Bear Witcher in. I added a Berserker in. We don't see them a lot in the meta, but for a quick tempo play, it's actually quite nice. We've got both Longships. We've got both Raiders, 2 Hunters, the targets, and then we put in 2 Gunning Slashes. Honestly, at 4 provisions, if we wanted to do more point slam, you could maybe look at getting an Invader or 2 in there. So that's absolutely an option as well. Also made me wonder if at a certain point getting some sort of thinning in here for draws is an option. That then led me to think to maybe putting Morkvarg in as my Blaze target instead, and that just took me down a whole different route, which is why I didn't end up doing it. So I like this as a variety of options because there's a good amount of removal in here. Again, the main changes I would look at making is maybe trying to get Totem in instead of Turgv to get you that point slam, getting Grimace in as well instead of, I don't even know what, because Grimace does run the 7 provisions, right? So you would have to look at maybe taking Jenge out, maybe dropping down one of these 5s, something like that. So it's a little bit tougher, which is why I didn't go that direction. I like this list. It worked really well. It got us back to peak. But I don't think it is better than Ursine. I think it's just another option to play. Less point slam, better control tools though. So again, if you're running into those Kelly decks and things like that, this is a great option. Worked well for me, had a lot of fun, and I hope you will too. If you liked the video, like, subscribe, all of that jazz. So let's jump into the 2 games, and I'll be back at the end to just kind of wrap things up. All right, friends, let's get a rockin' and a rollin'. What do you say we put a little bit of music on in the background? Do we want to hear a little bit of music? I think that's a good idea. Lockdown. So this is actually a matchup I have not played a lot of yet. And on blue. So I wonder if we're gonna get a whole lot of stuff mucked back into our deck. The lock is actually going to be helpful later on in the game. The tall removal with Hjalmar will be helpful to get through defender as well. That's not helpful at this point. That is. For thinning, I will want Vabjorn probably to grab me a raiding fleet later. Speak of the devil. I think we're done here. We will have to get stuff like Bear Witcher into our graveyard though, so let's keep that top of mind. I mean, right now we're gonna have to play something. I think we go Hunter and then we just drop this on it. If this is cloggers, then they won't really be able to do much to this. Unless they just want to spam it with coded weapons over and over again. And if they do, then that's just what we're going to have to deal with. Let's get some music rolling while we wait for this. Okay, so waiting for Mr. Opponent to decide what he wants to do. I mean, he could easily like muck this to the top of our deck. Moon Dust. Okay. So we are seeing Madoc here. We do have the option to ping and lock. This makes me assume that this is going to be the double Madoc list, right? With that being a thing, I kind of want this Madoc dead, because I do not want him to copy it. There's a line to ping it and then Blood Eagle it. I just really don't want it on board any more than it needs to be, because even locking it with Jenge is going to give him a Madoc, and that's a problem. This deck has no real way to purify, right? So Not purify, sorry, banish. So we'll take this way around. I actually think I'm gonna grab the greatsword. It's opening myself up to this being banished, which is like less than ideal. Depending on the bombs he has in hand. I mean, we're going to be able to get the Bear Witcher out as well. I don't think we'll need anything kept. So he doesn't have the banish. But he's going to bring the Witcher back out. He's going to bring Madoc back out. And we're going to have to find another way to remove that. And again, I'm going off instinct here. I'm assuming that this is the double Madoc list. Most lockdowns that feel like that's what they're playing if they are playing Madoc. Because otherwise we're going to see the usual ball stuff. Like pro tip, honestly, when and I say pro tip as if I'm that good a player, but when I'm playing on ladder, most of the time I will have the TLG meta report up because they do a fairly good job of, I'm still not sure if they define the meta or they report the meta, one or the other, but they definitely do a good job of being up to date with everything going on. So like I'll open that list up just to keep it top of mind. So this is actually interesting because playing the Informant's not something that, for example, I see on that list, so it's a little bit interesting. It still doesn't feel like a Cloggers deck. But I think this is a good opportunity to get Raiding Fleet out of our deck. And I want to kill that because I don't want any coups or anything producing another one, so let's do that. We've got our graveyard set up because we have the Greatsword there. We're going to have the Brockvar Hunter in the graveyard as well. We're going to try and get the Raider out, I think. We're going to try and get the Raider out, and then the Bear Witcher will be kind of the next answer to that. Now we're going to need to use Vabs as well. Okay, so we do have coated weapons. I'm going to put the boat back on top, because that's... If you are playing Colgrim, putting the boat back on top is very questionable. So this might be a weird Madoc, like, Colgrim mix. Mentors are going to come down for sure, so we need to get our hands on Morkvarg. That's going to be priority, 1000%. This will be War of Clans for the target. Let's do this because we're going to want that out on the board as well. And I really do want to hang on to the Longship. And I want to hang on to Jenge for some Colgrim hate. We're also going to have Hjalmar into the Greatsword, which will help work us through the Defender if we see that. So, not 1000% sure what this is, but we have answers. And that's why I'm a big fan of playing Blaze. Coated Weapons does sneak its way into the regular lockdown decks, so I wonder if that's just worth killing. Honestly, it probably is, because we can do that. We can drop this, and that's going to put us in a good spot here to be up and probably not allow him in one turn to get ahead. I'm trying to think of what else might be in this deck until we see Mentors, and Mentors are going to drop with Adrenaline 3. So if he doesn't get ahead here, I think we pass. Going last is not like the biggest of deals in most scenarios here, in most sequences. We can get away with not because we don't have anything huge on their side we need to answer per se. I do think it's interesting that stuff like Coated Weapons is getting tweaked into to some non-Clogger decks. I don't think this is Cloggers based on the lack of Doggo, the lack of... So, what did he put back on top of our deck? He put a boat back on top, so that's not going to be a lot of points. I think we get lost before we start getting just completely bamboozled by like 3 Mentors. These decks, if I'm following what's on the TLG meta report, we're going to probably see 1 Mentor from Location, 1 from Vigo, and 2 just regular Mentors. So being able to go get like Herald out of our deck and stuff is going to be really important. I think this is awkward for him now because my guess is there's probably a couple more Mentors in hand. There's probably a couple more Mentors. He might have a Brathens in there as well that we haven't seen. We didn't give him a chance to Lethal the Madoc if he does have it. So he's going to Yenvo that, which is... makes me wonder what the rest of his hand looks like. But we really don't mind him Yenvoing that because we do have the Greatsword in the graveyard for Hjalmar. So that'll work through something a little bit later on. That's the boat he put back on top. The Raider is actually not great here. Hemdall is very nice. We might want to go get rid of a Longship. Try and get our hands on Mork or Herald. Turkey will be okay. These decks usually run Cynthia, so Turkey will be probably... Cynthia will be the best target, I would guess. But they also sometimes run the Tortoise, which could be an option as well. He's going to want to bleed down to a real short round and drop a bunch of Mentors, I would imagine. So having Harold and Morkrog is going to be really, really important. Vabs into War of Clans into the Hunter is actually going to be a good engine to get on the board and do some damage. So if he does drop a body, that's how we can answer it. He can't put out a bomb. Which is what he probably wants to do to establish Madoc. And we get the dry pass. So I do think we have to go boat here. I don't think we have much of another option. So in a longer round, assuming we can draw cards, and that's why they play things like the coded weapons and all that, makes your draws a little bit worse. Like we're going to see 5 out of 12 cards, which is less than ideal. And we have to hope Blood Eagle can get us whatever's missing, but we need to draw Harold. Not Harold. Not Harold. Morkrog though, so that's actually quite huge. I do like the concept of keeping the Hunter. Well, shit. When you draw like this, you cannot complain. So we have a tutor for War of Clans. We have the ability to get Skjordal. I have to imagine in this setup, we're not actually going to see... Colgrim. We'll probably just see a bunch of Mentors. Like, honestly, if we mulligan that, this would be better, this would be better, that would be about the same, these would be worse, and those would be awkward. I'm gonna keep this. Because I want to proactive play with the Hunter. Harold is a proactive option, just gets punished a lot more easily, and you lose a point off of dropping the warrior, so we're gonna avoid that for the time being. We're also probably gonna focus on playing the back row. Just to keep things pretty constrained, but with that thing dying, we're gonna probably move to the front. So this is why I was saying Vabs into War of Clans, into the Brockvar Hunter is important, because we'll get to finish that off again. If he comes back with the bomb, we're not actually going to have an answer, but like it is what it is. We're not going to be perfect here. But we've really worked down his Madoc points. Could be a Brathens actually to go copy our Hunter. We're not going to have a lot of bronzes for him to go get. It's going to be the Hunter and it's going to be the Raider. Those are the only options he's going to have from us. We have a 10 punish. We have another tall punish we probably won't need. We have a mentor punish here. I say tall punish, but again, it's not going to hurt the mentors. So in a perfect world, Hjalmar into... Do they run Defender? It doesn't look like they run Defender typically, so there is the Brathens. So he will take the opportunity to copy that. Lock isn't that important right now, I don't think. I think a lock on like Madoc might be better though. What has he spent bomb wise? He's spent 1, 2, 3, 4 bombs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. There, I mean, there's still quite a few in the deck. I'm going to do this anyway because this is going to give us an opportunity to line up a nice Blood Eagle. We ping the back, we eagle it, we can go get Skjordal and possibly finish off Brathens as well. Keeping his board nice and clean is going to be key so that we can answer things when we need them. Just going to Heat Wave Harold. So the Heat Wave on Harold actually puts us in a really, really good spot for the most part. The question becomes, how do we want to answer Brathens? Because the Blood Eagle into Skjordal, into hitting him for a good amount of points is probably the way to do it. Without Harold, though, we don't get the ping anymore. That's a little bit annoying. Actually, if we use the... Either way actually answers the Brathens, right? Because we ping this for 1, we Blood Eagle it, we hit that, yeah. So we'll lose 1 point on it, but I think to shut down both engines, it's quite important here. Now, the next big thing, obviously, since he already used location, he no longer has control of what goes back on top of our deck, and our deck is pretty thinned of all gold cards. So if he does drop like 3 mentors, we're really not going to see a lot of points on them. So I'm not terribly worried. There's Cynthia, and like I said before, I think that's just our turkey target. It's probably not going to do a lot of buffing. Maybe runs an emissary in the deck. We're just going to answer that. I wonder if we are going to see another bomb come out. Doesn't run coup or anything. We haven't seen Quen. Quen can tutor out a mentor. Again, Mork just answers that, so I'm not like super concerned about it. Probably doesn't run any purify or anything. Yeah, the tortoise comes out as well. Which like puts us in a bit of a wonky bind. He's going to start dropping mentors possibly as of next turn. I'm trying to think of what's left in the deck. He could have a Letho to copy something. Don't know what he wants to copy with Letho at this point. Could have a Roddy as a tutor. There's really not a lot I'm terribly worried about, so it makes Hemdall a little bit less useful, really. Makes me wonder if we just drop Hemdall or if we just go with Jenge. My only concern is it makes Hemdall a little bit tall. But he spent his Heat Wave and he spent his Yanvo, so he has no more real tall removal. The awkward part is Jenge is not going to have any actual lock target. Or not lock target, but he won't be activated with Bloodthirst. So there's Quen, might come down with a mentor. I think we just probably answered that one with Morkvarg. Oh, into a Letho. That's interesting. Again, the inability to lock that does make it a little bit wonky. This is going to play for 1 more ping, so that'll be a 6. We would theoretically remove the tortoise. I mean, the Guardian's a 0. These guys are all 5s and 4s, so the mentors are actually going to be smaller than that, so...
Who wants to taste Skelliger Steel?
Definitely not the most efficient way of going about it. We, in theory, could have just done that last turn. But it shouldn't matter that much. This should be fine. Like, I don't know where he gets his points from, to be honest. There's 1 mentor. And he'll be really sad when it's next to no points. And when he realizes that, he ends the game. Right on. So that's perfect example of how this deck works. Just a lot of removal and a bit more control-y than you'll typically see. With some of the other Ursine Warrior decks you got going on right now. All right, so apparently when you create a deck guide, you must hit the record button on OBS. Otherwise, it doesn't really work very well. So that's good to know. Oh, great. One of these weird mirror matchups where this guy's playing what I can only assume is Tailbot's list. Yeah. Kind of what I'm assuming here. So we want to move the Greatsword back to the deck because that's what we're going to use for our Tall Punish. Though in reality, this deck probably doesn't get higher than like a 6 or something. Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's find out. So we have the option. We have boats and we have a couple hunters. So that'll be our proactive plays. Oh, gosh, golly gee willikers. This is ballsy and I don't care. That's the best target I will ever get for that. If I had Morkvarg in hand, I would have done it with Mork. This works just fine though. I mean, other than seeing probably a Hemdall, there's going to be nothing worthwhile to kill, so we're taking that one. We're taking that one all day long. Hey look, he has another boat. Which is going to be fine, because we ping that. And then we answer Boaty McBoatface with our Gutting Slash. Now we just pressure hard on even. Like, super hard uneven. Totem will actually get him some points. We don't run Totem, so it's a little slower for us.
Women, children, elders.
I'll drop that. If he wants to flip, he can flip. He might flip and try and get out. Still a little early for that, but that's okay. That's just kind of the problem with Skellige without the Totem. Like, this plays for 12, but in reality, so does Turgvi. So it feels sort of weird to not want to play him. Oh, we're playing a little bit of discard as well, are we? This hits Hemdall pretty nicely, so we'll probably just wait on it. We could get another boat. Seems like a little bit of a waste at this point in time.
I promise you a quick death.
We can go Berserker as well. Spending leader, we're forcing him to play Totem. The rest, like, we're just gonna play junk otherwise. Answer both of his boats. We'll have another boat from Blood, from Raiding Fleet, hopefully. So hopefully this is just as smooth as can possibly be. Yeah, winning uneven might be a bit of a challenge. Hitting Turgvi on the 6th, though, might be a decent way to swing it. We'll have to see what he does here. That's 11 points. That puts us at 20. I mean, unless he passes here. Look at his own raider down.
Very corpses.
So that's at 19. So this Turgvi,
Raid's a raid. Matters not whose village.
I'm a bonehead. That Turgvi ties us. We just hope he wants to be ballsy and keep rolling. There might be a line where we change in this deck to Turkey for. He plays Axie. What is happening here? These weird non-devotion Blaze decks are throwing me off. Maybe he took out Madoc? I don't know. My other logic was that we would do this early enough that he wouldn't have an answer for it. I still think it's fine that we played Blaze to remove his boat. Let's see, that's 7. Okay, we want to get him to keep rolling here. Gonna play Quen into the Bear Witcher. So he's definitely spending points to do that.
I'll cleave you in two.
Let's assume we get 2 points. That puts us 15. We need 16 more. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11 is 24. 26.
I'll gut you like fascists.
Hey, I'll gut you like fascists. Seems weird.
Warhawk devour you.
I want him to keep pushing. I've had some really bad luck. Not bad luck. I haven't had very much success against this type of Blaze deck. So I do want to probably be winning this round. Usually losing it does not do well for us. So did he just take Madoc out? So took Madoc out, put in the Totem, took out the bombs, and added in boats. That's really it. The top end seems the same otherwise. We'll see a Heat Wave, we'll see a Lambert. This matchup was just incredibly painful. Like, we have to spend another gold to win this round. I don't know if I'm necessarily upset about it. I really don't have an answer for it.
What are you gonna do?
8, 11, it's 29. That's not enough.
What is it?
But if I do that first and he passes, we still get the win and we spent another bronze. Well, burnt tall removal, but again, we've been through this matchup a couple times in the past. They don't run anything tall that we need to answer, or any engines we really need to answer.
Who wants to taste Skellige steel?
I would have to imagine he has enough left, right, with Heatwave, Lambert, Turgvi. Oh, fuck, they play Hjalmar as well. I don't really want this. I want the tutor card for it instead. I haven't seen Heron either, eh? Yeah. I just don't know what the bottom end of this deck is going to look like or what else he might have. That's better. The problem at the end of the day with leader is if we do commit here, we almost certainly lose the card. That's cool that Axie stays lit the whole time. We almost 100% lose the card every time, just because leader answers our boat, and then we're playing from behind and we don't have the cards to do that. We want Hemdall, and we want the raiding fleet. There's raiding fleets. That's good. Forcing him to go first might be somewhat helpful. I was gonna say we can play unitless, but we can't really. We only have one card that'll answer anything. Let's see what he leads with. I'm curious as to what he plays proactive here. Burna is plenty good proactive, and the stunning blow doesn't really matter. He played one, right? I wonder if he pulls Mork. Or if he's lucky enough to keep Mork at the bottom of his deck. Survey says, what'd he lose? So he swept Maxine. I think that Gutting Slash was the other card that he lost here. I mean, he's always gonna have leader on the boat, unless he also drew his other Heime. That's leader to kill that. How did he manage to avoid that with only 4 cards left in his deck is my question.
Burn the homes, fell the trees, anything shiny, plunder!
That's new. I think that's okay. I don't think we see anything else we ever need to lock. At all. I mean, I could also be completely wrong. We have a turn to deal with that. We haven't seen Heat Wave yet. We want to make sure we have an option to set up for Blood Eagle, which we absolutely do here. We also want to make sure we have an option for Bear Witcher, which we do. Like, we're going to be in good shape here. I think the Heat Wave probably comes down on Herald, right? Because we haven't seen that yet. Hjalmar could also be a good option because he has 6s and 8s in his grave. He's played 2 Bear Witchers, though. He could also have a Heron somewhere. Yeah, like I said, this is always a little bit of a tough matchup. You know, the lock doesn't bother me all that much.
Dead or alive.
It makes obviously the answer to the Brock for Hunter a little bit weirder. Like, we're gonna do this instead. Maybe I should have just played Skjordal while I could. But thankfully the Blood Eagle kills her and we can just Hemdall the front row here. Also be able to put the Bear Witcher on something. So that's Hjalmar, I guess, on Herald. I don't know why he took so long to do it. I don't need to be row stacking either at all, so I think we can also go and do...
All that dancing around.
I think we can do that.
Not for me.
I have to imagine he goes and has Quen into... No, he spent his Bear Witchers. Does he have Quen into anything? He'll have Lambert. There's Lambert. Playing it in the front row is a poor life choice, though, sir.
Don't teach your grandma to suck eggs.
Teach your grandma to suck eggs. There will be egg sucking, that is for sure. We're gonna go Hemdall now, just because Skjordal's very awkward otherwise. And now he's clean. 10 clean points on Jengay or Lambert. We didn't want to remove it first, but I think this is safe. So we'll have enough points here. Yeah, the yeet on that is not going to be enough. All right, so this played a lot better than it did last night when I was playing this matchup. Last night it didn't go as well, but that feels pretty good in this scenario. So this worked out just fine. I hope you enjoyed that, friends. I hope you enjoyed the deck and that it works well for you out there. If you do have any questions, if you think it's great, if you think it's trash, comments below, Twitter, Twitch, all of that. Come find me, ask me, let me know what you think. If you want me to try one of your decks on stream, please send it over. I am always down to try something new. And if I like it, maybe I'll throw out a video for it. So take care, best of luck, and I will see you next time in Christo's Cafe.
Oh, what a lovely tea party.